I'm streaming live twice now. Gotta shut that down. Okay, I did this the other day. It gives me options to keep sharing, so I shared several times. But today I am excited to have my friend Jason Breitenfeld on the 7-Day Sobriety Challenge with me. Jason and I have been friends since, oh my gosh, how long, Jason, that you were going to school?
I think I met you in 2008. I was thinking about that the other day.
2008, Jason was my intern when I was a counselor at the job center. And it was a great thing. Jason was a tremendous asset. And then a few years later, we lost touch. And then I read about Jason's accident that he had had and how he was in the hospital and nearly died. And Jason, you've done a few things with me before. We've got some videos on YouTube already, but tell the audience, our 7-Day Sobriety thing is to encourage people who may be thinking that, drinking has got the best of them. Maybe they've been lucky, but tell me, Jason, why people should really think, especially during New Year's Eve, why they should rethink the drinking, driving, or maybe drinking at all. Tell us what happened to you.
Well, it's been 10 years in January. It'll be 10 years ago. I was driving for a taxi company up in the Minocqua area. I was hired to drive a group of people around that wanted to go bar hopping that night. And so I was just dedicated to them. Well, after I dropped 2 members off at their cabin in the woods, I pulled back out onto the highway and a drunk driver came across the center line at 80 miles an hour and hit me head on.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow, Jason. So how did you survive that?
Well, actually, to be honest, it's a miracle I did survive. With my injuries and that, I had a leg cut off and my hips crushed. And to be honest, it was the grace of God that I survived. And to this day, that is still a miracle that I have both of my legs. So, and
absolutely, you had to have your hip replaced and everything, right?
Yes, and that I have one artificial hip now. And probably I would say within the next year or two, that hip's going to need to be replaced again. And rods holding my legs together and a whole lot of screws.
Oh my goodness. Going through the story with you, and we've got a real detailed of your story on YouTube, but my goodness, this guy that hit you, tell me about this guy and who he was.
Yeah, the guy who hit me, and this was when he hit me, it was his 4th OWI. He was 3 times the legal limit. He actually had 3 passengers in his vehicle. And of course, being a repeat drunk driving offender, he had an SR-22 attached to his driver's license, not actual insurance, with a very, very minimal payout.
Oh my gosh. So this ended up, I remember you saying, how much of your medical bills so far? No.
If I would have had to pay it all out of pocket, it would have been $3 million.
$3 million. And it took you how many years to get any kind of a court settlement?
Oh, 5 years total.
5 years total. So I guess what I want people to see and to realize is that this doesn't just affect you. Now, he's lucky he didn't kill you or anything else. Jason, did he go back to jail or prison for hitting you?
Yeah, he did. He was sentenced to 3 years incarceration, 3 years extended supervision. But with the state of Wisconsin and how they through their programs, he was out in 20 months.
20 months, he got out for a lifetime of pain and suffering for you. That hardly seems fair that happens.
Right.
You know, there are millions of people have been killed by drivers, not just alcohol, but drug drivers as well. And we really minimize that. Wisconsin is a state that has been on the map for a long time with being #1 in binge drinking. What have you seen, Jason, as a driver, for a sober driver for these places? How many people do you see that are just trash that otherwise would have gotten in their vehicles if it wasn't for you and your program?
Well, to be honest, and that the trend I'm seeing right now, and it's kind of scary to me, is I see more and more getting behind the wheel again. About 5 years ago, I think it peaked and we were seeing a good number using the Safe Ride program or just using the taxi in general. But Wisconsin, because our laws here are, to be honest, they're the weakest in the nation, and that as far as punishments for drinking and driving, that people are going back to it, even though in that your first OWI, in just legal fees alone, you're looking at about 10 grand if you fight it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that unfortunately I see the trend going the other way again, and more getting behind the wheel.
Well, here's the thing, Jason, having been in recovery myself for 46, over 46 years, and sober now for almost 27, I did it too. I mean, and I have to, we might be pretty judgmental about people who have driven 4 times. I drove way more than 4 times drunk. I just was lucky not to have hit anybody or killed anybody or myself or get caught. It's such a pervasive problem. And here's what I see, because I did it too. You go to have a good time with your friends. And that's what people do. They go and we're just going to go have a couple cocktails. But once you have a couple cocktails, some of us don't have that ability to shut the brain off once we get started. I have an allergy. I tell people I drink and I get drunk because there's no shut off valve once I have 1 or 2. And then you just go, and then all bets are off because you think you're sober. And you don't know if you're sober. I think everybody should be tested before they leave the bar. And if they're over the legal limit, they shouldn't even be allowed to be behind the wheel. But we aren't anywhere near that, are we?
Not here. And I totally agree. I think the problem is the way alcohol affects the brain, that it just, not that, I mean, deep down we know it's wrong, but the alcohol affects your judgment so much that people just do it anyway.
Well, that's the thing. Not only does it affect your judgment, it literally causes cognitive decline in the brain and in the rest of the body. People don't realize how that alcohol is really changing your brain chemistry long after you quit drinking. But, some of the reasons I think that people drink, and I know you have too, Jason, over the years, depression can be a problem for us. Looking for escape, whether it's alcohol or drugs or food, looking for that escape, I think, is pretty common for all of us, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, Jason, how have you overcome your depression? I mean, I'm not saying you're depressed anymore, but I know you were for a while. But how have you been able to cope with the way that this accident impacted you? What have you done to be able to keep going in life?
Well, to me, for a long time, in that I did have to seek professional help. I seen a counselor for quite some time. But that only takes you so far. And that, to me, in that I had to change my complete mindset. I had to get used to my new normal, what my limitations were. That I wasn't going out and shoveling 2 feet of snow anymore. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So you have to come to terms with that. And then for me, the other big thing, and it finally happened, I think about 2 years ago. Not that I forgot about what happened, but I've actually, on a spiritual level, forgave the guy who hit me.
Oh, key. Oh, Jason, I'm so glad. That had to have been really hard. Where do you draw from? You said on a spiritual level. So you and God kind of had it out for a few years, huh?
Oh, for a long time. And I was so angry over everything, and I was angry at him. And to be honest, I was angry at God too for a while.
Yeah.
Why me? And that I was doing the right thing, and that was something, as a family and as a company that I was working for at the time, we kind of had the mindset that nothing like this could happen to us because you're doing the right thing. You're getting as many intoxicated drivers off the road as we could. But the problem is we can't get them all off the road.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, how ironic that here you are, a safe ride home vehicle hit by a drunk driver. What are the chances of that? What a tragedy, But Jason, you have turned, and I love that Bible verse that says, God works all things together for the good. So I remember telling you, you should write a book, Jason. And you're like, it's gonna cost me $10,000. Tell me about your book.
Yeah, it's been what, 5 years now, I think. Well, but good 4 anyway. Yeah, and that, as like you said, it was something I thought about, but when I looked into a ghostwriter and publishing fees, I'm like, this ain't doable.
No.
And you encouraged me in that, to just sit down and write it, and just sit down at the computer and write. And sure enough, and that the word just started flowing. And gosh, I would say within 3 months, I had it completely written, found a company that would publish it. And yeah, it's been on Amazon for years.
Yeah, it's just so amazing. And I really believe that every single person's got a book in them. We've all got a story to tell that could be an encouragement to another person. And I just met somebody a few weeks ago that is brand new in this drunk driving, got hit by a drunk driver accident, flipped a car numerous times. Found the guy who was just mangled and, had to go through that horrible view. Then a few weeks later, came across another drunk driving accident, traumatized. It takes a long time for people to get over, but the stories these things can bring. And I remember your story is way bigger than just that accident. And I love the way you put your book together, starting with growing up, but then going into the military, and then all the things that you've done from then. Oh, my goodness, you've got 2 degrees, one in, what is it, in criminal justice, and then another one in human services, right?
Correct.
And then didn't you get something in automotive too?
I was actually working on that at the time of the accident. So yeah, it kind of got short.
Yeah, so now you've got the book out, and I'm going to show in a couple minutes here what that book is all about, where people can get it. But also, you are still working for a company that offers safe rides home, right? For a taxi company.
Right, correct. And that my wife and I, we moved, and now we work for a taxi company in Wausau. Unfortunately, in that I'm not on the road anymore, personally taking people home, but I'm in the office, dispatching our drivers. So get to talk to the people, talk to the drivers.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I just really admire that you were even willing to get behind the wheel of a car after going through that. I would imagine the PTSD kind of stuck with you for a while, huh?
Oh yeah, that took a little while to overcome. But yeah, within a year I was back in a cab driving drunks home again. And
Oh my gosh.
I did that for good 4 or 5 years before I took this position as a dispatcher.
Well, Jason, one of the things I just wrote a kind of an ebook guide for people surviving a 7-day or a lifetime challenge of putting the substance abuse behind them. And like I had mentioned, playing it to the end is a key. And I know that that has always been your message, is planning ahead. Can you talk about that for a minute here before we wrap up?
Right. Yeah, on the drinking and driving end, my biggest message is always, like you said, planning ahead. It's so easy nowadays, especially with the technology we have, cell phones and texting. People, I hear even before my accident, I heard people all the time saying, well, my friends and I, we've been planning this night out forever. And I would personally ask them, well, how do you plan on getting home safely? Well, their answer would be, well, we really haven't thought about it. And then to be honest, what have you planned?
Yeah.
Not, and especially in the state of Wisconsin, one thing the state of Wisconsin does do right when it comes to drinking and driving is, if you're at an establishment that's a member of the Tavern League, you have the Safe Ride Home program. It's a free ride home, and the state of Wisconsin is paying for it.
Yes.
But even if that's, you don't want to use that, you can still call a cab, get a designated driver.
Yeah.
And I used it years ago, and she got mad at me one time because it was 3 o'clock in the morning, but I called my mom for a ride home.
Good for you.
It's just, it was an unexpected night out, and I had too much, and I gave her a call. She didn't
Good
like
for
me.
you.
I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but well, I'd rather have you do that than drive home.
Yeah, good for you, Jason. That's a great thing. So I am hoping that if there is anybody at all that is watching this or thinking about, maybe it's time, yeah, maybe I will try this, that today is a good day to do that. So I'm going to share my screen again to tell people why a good idea for them to actually think about jumping into this whole thing and going online and signing up for our 30-day challenge. Where is my Canva? Here we go. Yeah, because there is so much to offer. There is so much that is being offered, not only by me, but all of my speakers that I have that have been part of this. It has just been amazing. I did this last year as well. Jason, are you seeing this? My last one, it did not show up. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Okay, super. Hopefully other people can see it as well. But here's what the 7-day sobriety challenge is offering here. I'm actually going to skip this because I actually go through all of these. Like I said, I wrote this How to Stay Sober, 7 Keys to Sobriety that saved my life. And I'm just writing these down here for you to take a look at. You can download this for free. Jason and I have talked a little bit about it. But the resources that are part of this is just connecting up with my people. And all of my speakers have offered all kinds of things. All of them have offered a free strategy session for their particular area of expertise. Like I said, I've got 9 speakers from last year on here, and I've got 10 speakers from this year. So it's 19 people that are offering you a free call if you want to talk to them. I know Jason's more than happy as well to talk with somebody if you're going through maybe the PTSD thing or the struggle, or I love what you said. It took you a few years to get to forgiveness. People get stuck in unforgiveness and then they drink and they use, and or maybe how to write a book. Jason is more than willing. We still have a couple speakers to go yet. Laura Slowicki is going to be with us tomorrow. Laura struggled with alcohol and drugs for a long time. I met her about, 6-7 years ago. But in 2020, she took my class and was sober a year. Then last 2021, she went back to school and now is starting a job next week as a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. So that is so cool. And then we also have Dr. David McIntyre, who is a counselor in the Wausau area, specializes in the neurological aspect of what alcohol does, but brain stuff in general. He's going to be speaking tomorrow on Saturday. And then Sunday, I'm going to talk about my course that I'm going to be offering. One thing I've done to try to help is I dropped the price of my Speak to Me God I'm Listening book, 365 Daily Meditation for those who want to hear God answer life's toughest questions. And this is going to help people. I don't know, Jason, you got this book, right? The meditations. Has it been helpful to you?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It really gives people a look at how to hear God speak, because if you want to know your purpose, if you want to know why bad things happen to good people, I asked God that, and I wrote it in the book, what he said to me. And Jason and I are living proof of why God allows bad things to happen. I mean, he doesn't like it, he would change it, but God uses all things. And he will use that. I think there's an enemy out there. I think there's a devil that is trying to get us to go astray. But if we choose, we can make good out of those negative things. And this is Jason. He's a veteran, an author, a speaker, and a coach. If you want Jason to speak, he does that all over the place. He does a great job. And you can get his book, The Dangers of Drinking and Driving, the Jason Breitenfeld story, on Amazon. This is a story of hardships, tragedy, love, faith, and perseverance. And I mean, take a look at this. Seriously, look at this. This is his vehicle down here on the bottom, how he survived. Talk about miracle from God. Yeah, totally. God saved Jason undoubtedly for this purpose. You can sign up and get all of this stuff, the 7-day sobriety challenge.com, and get all of this stuff for free. You'll get on our list where you're going to get replays of this year's speakers, but I'm also going to be talking about my Hope for Recovery course. It's a 12-week course that is going to take you from now all the way, starting in January, for the next 12 weeks, and then I will help you for the whole rest of the year. So if you have struggled with sobriety, this is not something you've been able to do, this is a great thing for you. We have weekly online meetings of support. I have daily support for you. You can text me, we can talk. And I'm going to drop that price to 50% off the regular price through this challenge, and when we have the thing on Sunday. So I do hope you will sign up, http:/7daysobrietychallenge.com. And I just am so grateful, Jason, that you were willing to join me today on this challenge. And I hope people reach out to you because you've been such a blessing to so many. So I hope they don't have to replace that hip. I'm going to pray for healing, that you're going to get better instead of worse as time goes on.
Right. And yeah, let me say in that, it's been an honor in that, of course, to do these events with you. It always has been. My philosophy behind it is if I could prevent even one person or one family from going through what I've had to endure over the last 10 years, then it's all worth it.
Yes, I said exactly the same thing today to Channel 12 News that I spoke on today. So thank you, Jason, for everything you're doing. Keep up the good work, and our prayers are with you.
Thank you.
God bless.